Okay, so with breaks starting, I decided that it's now the best time for me to actually, put my opinion out there and do other project kind of things other than simply just putting out gameplay videos. So the first thing that I'm going to focus on is this one Reddit post that I read the other night. Only Blizzard can kill Hearthstone, and they're doing a darn fine job. Obviously, censored out the bad word. They did not use darn, but this is a family-friendly channel, so moving past that. Anyway, the link will be in the description if you want to actually read the whole thing. But I'm basically going to go over every single point and talk about my personal thoughts on it, and then I'm actually going to be posting 2 more videos pretty much tomorrow and the day after about 2 other topics that I want to talk about, and I've wanted to talk about for a little bit. So without further ado, I'll just jump right into it. The first issue that this Reddit user found was the lack of new features being added to the game. It's been 3 years since they added Tavern Brawl, and the Reddit user said that that was unacceptable. And to some extent, I agree. I think that they haven't really added anything new into the game other than the solo, mini adventures thing that they really try to push for. And honestly, that's not. I don't really think that quite cuts it. It was a little bit. It was like a mini game, but I don't think it was actually like a full on feature that was added to the game that revolutionized really anything. Like Tavern Brawl on Hearthstone, you can go and you can look up specific decks for how to do the Tavern Brawl most successfully. There's interaction between people because there are tons of fun little game modes. It's a mini game, or it's a game mode that's based on having new mini games, whereas the single player one is just like a mini game that they threw on there with very little creativity at all. So I actually agree with this, and the next video that I will be posting is actually a lot of new features that they could potentially put into the game. Just ideas off the top of my head. So look forward to that. The next issue that they found, or this person found, was the lack of a tournament mode. I actually agree with this. I haven't pushed for it as hard as a lot of other people have, and a lot of people have been very much looking forward to this. And when they said that they were indefinitely shutting down tournaments, a lot of people were upset. And I actually kind of agree. I think that tournaments would not be that hard to do. I'm going to compare it to Fortnite, that as of yesterday of me making this video, they had their first little mini tournament in single player mode, where if you got a certain number of points, you would get in-game currency or experience. I heard about it pretty late because of friends, and I played a little bit and got 4 or 5 points because I'm not great at the game in the last hour. But the point is, Hearthstone could do something similar like that. They could have mini tournaments of not even huge amounts of people, or how League of Legends is now doing their Clash events, where it's not even a ton. It would be 16 people working their way up, and every tier you go up, from 16, if you go to 8, you get a little bit of stuff. Go to 4, you get a little bit of stuff. The finals, you get a little bit more stuff, and then the final one, you get even a little bit more stuff. I don't think that these mini tournament modes would be that hard to put together. As for giant tournaments, maybe take the winners of individual pools and have them be eligible to do something else if they want to, and kind of escalate it from there. Obviously, this is what people wanted when they were talking about a tournament mode, and I don't think that it would be that hard to do. So I totally agree with this. Although I haven't pushed for it or felt as strongly about it as some people have. I definitely do think that a tournament mode would be fun and is, in my opinion, needed for the game for long-term sustainability and to, reel people back in and keep them interested. So yeah, that's my thoughts on tournament mode. Anyway, the next point is the first point I disagree with, and that is they never truly address the problems with the ladder. It's a pointless grind. They just slapped Band-Aid floors and added more ranks for new players. I disagree with this because, as in any game, every single video game that I can think of, the ranked ladder is just a pointless grind. I personally don't know what this person wants when they claim it's a pointless grind, because League of Legends is a pointless grind. Overwatch, pointless grind. CSGO, also kind of a pointless grind, except the reset isn't as often. I've only been reset in CSGO one time, so meh. But I think the reason I think it's pointless is because it gets reset, but it gets reset in every single game. Overwatch, Heroes of the Storm, as I have already mentioned, League of Legends, pretty much all MOBA games, and also Hearthstone. I don't agree with that particular point. And also slapping on Band-Aids, improving ranked floors, that was actually, in my opinion, an extremely good thing to do. Because in League of Legends, the ranked ladder is probably the most other than URP, is the most played, most popular game form or game mode. And their reset is a soft reset that brings you back like one rank. So if you don't know the ranks, it's like, according to the new season, it's iron, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and so on. So they move you back one. They'll move you back from like gold to silver, or in my case, platinum to gold, or diamond to platinum, or whatever. Rather than what Hearthstone was doing and would hard reset you almost all the way back at the beginning. I think making it a soft reset, moving you back like one set of 5 ranks, moving you back one segment was very good because it keeps you needing to play the game to maintain your rank, but doesn't make you play so much you have to start all the way from the beginning just to get there. I think that was actually a very good change. And adding more ranks for new players is also a very good change because it means that new players get to play against each other with free-to-play decks or cheap decks, get rewards, and build up a collection before they get to rank 25 or rank 20 and really have to start grinding. I think that it was a very good way to implement new players into the ranked system, and I disagree with this entire point. You guys, if you have opinions of your own, feel free to comment, but I actually disagree with this entire point. The next one is they never gave us features like basic achievements, replays, auto squelch, or deck trackers. This one I have mixed feelings about. The first one is replays. I mean, not replays, the auto squelch. I don't think that's really needed. Like in League of Legends, you can just slash mute all. In the start of a Hearthstone game, you can just right click and squelch them, or just not, because they only have a few basic emotes. It's not really that annoying, and they can't spam it either. Blizzard definitely implemented something where you couldn't spam it. So I don't think auto squelch is needed. And this is a little bit of a petty, in my opinion. Some of the points on this are a little bit petty, in my opinion, because this person is very upset with Hearthstone. So I'm trying to look at it from a perspective that is somewhat indifferent, but also still a fan of Hearthstone. So obviously, if you've made it this far and noticed that mine are a little bit biased, I do like Hearthstone and want to see it flourish, and I do think that some of the decisions they've made so far have been pretty good. However, achievements. I do think that they have some achievements, being like getting 500 wins with the class and ranked gets you something golden, gets you the golden border. But I do also think that it's important to have other achievements too. Some small things that get you like, hey, you got this little achievement, here's like 20 gold. Like, oh, you did 40 damage with a single card, here's like 20 gold. Nice achievement, and you can have like an achievement log of some kind. That would be pretty cool, and I think that it's something that Blizzard should really implement into the game. And I like the whole achievement idea. Even if they don't give you anything, just another thing for you to collect, because a lot of people who play card games are just collectors, and like to do that sort of thing. I do too, a little bit. I'm kind of a perfectionist, but only up to a point. I like trying to get as much stuff as possible, but won't like try super hard to get things that are very hard to get. Anyway, enough about me. Moving on to deck trackers and replays. I think that it would be a nice quality of life change to have it in there, but because of the fact that Hearthstone Deck Tracker exists and it's linked to the Hearthstone Replay site, which are just sites that pretty much all Hearthstone players should use anyway, or if they're even relatively serious and will look at the replays and use deck trackers, because those people are the ones that already use the deck tracker or the site, I don't think it's a huge deal, but I do think it would be a quality of life thing that would make it more of an option for the more casual player. So I do think that it would be nice. I just don't think it should be top priority. But once they fix some of the other things, like adding a new feature, potentially tournament mode, and some other things as I go down the list, this is definitely something that they should change eventually. And the next point is, it takes us an absurd amount of time to give us more deck slots. I don't really see an issue with the deck slots at all. I disagree with this point as well. I think 18 deck slots is very reasonable, actually. Very few people that I know have even more than like 3, maybe 4 complete decks in total. Then you have like 1 or 2 slots for decks to complete quests. Like, oh, I need a couple of decks with like all mechs, all beasts, all like, I don't know, different categories, all death rattle, so I can finish those quests off quickly. And even then, you have a ton of slots left. The only thing that this would help, in my opinion, are people like me who are, content creators that build a ton of different decks and try to entertain all of you guys, so that way I don't have to constantly delete them to make space for new ones. Or people who have a ton of money that they've thrown into the game or have been collecting for a long time and want to build more than 18 decks. But I think 18 is a totally reasonable number. I thought 9 was okay. Although I did like the increase to 18, but I think going to 27 is just unnecessary. Although, that being said, having 18, having a limit on it is a little bit annoying. So if they did increase it, it would be helpful. You wouldn't really feel the impact of it, or not a very niche group of people would feel the impact of it. But the fact that the option to have more decks is there would be nice. But again, it's even lower than replays and deck trackers in my opinion. It would be a kind of nice thing to have, but I don't think it's necessarily needed at all. The next one is a long point. It says, when it becomes obvious that Unity was going to limit the game in fundamental ways that charged forward with no attempt at a solution, they made more than enough resources and time to completely rewrite the entire game engine from scratch in a way that is efficient, doesn't take up a ridiculous amount of mobile phone storage, and doesn't slog on high-end computers, and isn't written with spaghetti code that causes frequent bugs. Speaking of bugs, I'll just jump into the next point that says, speaking of bugs, the game is plagued with bugs, especially the bug that shows you have new cards when you don't. First off, I'm just going to attack that bug real quick. Don't really think it's that big of a deal. Obviously, it's a bug that should be fixed, but again, it's kind of a petty thing where he's trying to find as many little issues with the game as possible that don't really affect the game that much. It doesn't really affect the gameplay at all, and I don't think that focusing on that particular bug is an issue. As for remaking the game, I think that that's extreme. But I do think that it does slog on high-end computers, and it does run inefficiently, and it does take a lot of mobile phone storage. So I think that even though this would be a huge project for Blizzard, and I don't know if they'd want to do it because it would probably take a lot of resources, and they've already claimed to be working on a number of live projects already, which I'll get into in a video or two. I think that's something that they should do is along the lines of what they do with Here's the Storm, although it's a dying game, and I'll get into that next in 2 videos because Here's the Storm is a topic, not necessarily just Hearthstone. These topics are Blizzard as a whole, by the way. Making it like Hearthstone 2.0, basically like going back in and changing some of the fundamentals of the game in one giant update would be fairly nice. And I think that the perfect time to do it is at the first expansion to start off a year, launching you into a new year, a new standard set with a ton of new fundamental changes, because it'll give them players the entire year to jump into the game, learn some of the new mechanics that they implement some new things, or just fix bugs, and it'll be a way for people to just start off the year right rather than being disappointed. I feel like psychologically this could be big. Starting off the year right will be able to allow Blizzard to ride off of that wave, in order to snowball it into better stuff in the future. So I think that if they were to do it, it should be at the beginning of a year, with the start of the first expansion of that year. And I do think that bugs should be fixed. It shouldn't slog computers. It does take a lot of space on my phone. My goodness, I 100% agree with that. Oof. And just make it more efficient in general would be kind of nice. And maybe some implementing new animations, making gold cards a little bit better, or something like that. I don't know. Just change it and spice it up a little bit. Make it fresh and focus on the game a little bit, because I think that it's something that would be very nice. And then the last thing that he goes on to talk about, pretty much every single point after this, other than horrendous balance changes, which I'll attack right now. I think the balance is very good. I think other than the Druid being huge at the beginning of Boomsday and some of Witchwood as well, after that phase whittled out for the past 2 months easily, there's been a very nice balance of decks. Even decks or classes that aren't even that good, in my opinion, like Priest, have multiple different fairly meta decks that can still perform to a moderate level. There's still also Rogue and Paladin and Hunter and still Druid and Warlock, all with multiple decks that are viable in the meta. And it's just, there's a large abundance of viable decks. And even now there's a large viable number of decks with the new Rosticon's Rumble expansion. And I think the meta is in a very healthy spot right now, and I definitely disagree with the horrendous balance. However, Giggling Inventor wasn't nerfed as quickly as I wanted it to, but it was still eventually nerfed fairly quickly. They were on top of that. So I don't think that that's that big of a deal. And then the last point is the communication. I do think Blizzard as a whole needs to communicate better and be more in tune with their audience. And I'll get into this in the later videos when I talk about Blizzard as a whole more. But like the mobile release of Diablo, horrendous. The fact that, at least for Hearthstone, they really only talk about the game and talk to the audience when they're about to release new packs. That way it's more of a promotional thing. They don't really focus or talk too much about other games anymore, like StarCraft 2, at least not in America. Maybe in Korea they do because it's actually still huge there, but they just don't talk to the audience anymore. Is basically what I'm getting at. And if they want to become an amazing game company anymore rather than just a good one, because I think they've fallen from amazing to great and now to just good. Like they've been on a downward slope, maybe on the border of good to great, but they're fallen. In my opinion, they need to communicate more. Not just in Hearthstone, although since I play Hearthstone, that's one I would like them to focus on. But just in pretty much every aspect of the company as a whole. And obviously, there are other issues that I see myself or other people complain, like it being pay to win, and there being a ton of RNG. And I've covered both of those topics at different points in my videos at some point on my channel. But just quickly to quickly gloss over them too. I don't think the game is pay to win. That's why half of my channel is devoted to budget decks that can be fairly successful and get you to rank 5 if not higher. Not only that, but like, sure, you take the time and dust to create like one legendary, being like Baku, and it opens up such a wide variety of decks that you can make for a fairly cheap price, like, or Gen. Excuse me. Even Shaman, I ran that deck with just Gen and Sea Giants, and the rest were like commons and some rare. Odd Paladin, you need like one other rare, being Leroy, and you don't even need that. Same with Odd Rogue. There are a ton of decks that are fairly budget. And there's also, sorry, I started a little bit there. There are multiple Hunter decks that are fairly good that I've even recently done that have all above 50% win rates in ranks 5 and above that are all 2,500 dust or cheaper. So I don't think the game is pay to win. And as for RNG, that's the thing that makes Hearthstone unique, and that's what makes it not for everybody. Although it does piss you off, you have to admit the fact that Hearthstone is the only card game that can implement things like this, like true RNG, and even like give you mechanics that say give you a random card from a potential minion like Lich King and Ysera, or if you have all odd cards in your deck, gain a special ability. No other card game has the even potential to do that because of the fact that Hearthstone is completely computer based. So I say no other, but there are definitely other ones too, like Artifact and Shadowverse and whatnot. So obviously there are others, but this one was the one that really revolutionized all of them and showed you the potential of computer-based card game. And obviously RNG is not for everyone, and it's a valid complaint. It can be annoying at times, and I totally see where people are coming from when you don't get lucky with, say, a Wandering Monster with a Hunter, or you don't get the card you need from Lich King or Ysera, or top decking. But top decking is an RNG thing based in all card games, so if you don't like that, maybe card games aren't for you. But just as a whole, I don't think RNG is that big of an issue personally, but I do see where people are coming from when they do complain about it. Other than that, I think Hearthstone is not going in a great direction, and I do think that what this person said, only Blizzard can kill Hearthstone, is true. I think that Hearthstone is big enough, and Blizzard is a big enough company to where they could definitely fend off pretty much all competition if they do the right things. The issue is they're not doing the right things, and I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with me, but feel free to comment or share this video, and I want to hear as many people's opinions about this as possible, because honestly, I really love this game. It's a game that I've always enjoyed. I played it in beta. When I first heard it was coming out, I was super excited because I was into Magic the Gathering, and I was like, this is a simpler version, and I can play it at home. And I don't know. I don't want to see this game die, and I'm sure that a lot of you guys don't want to see this game die. And I just want to get as many people's opinions as possible on changes they can make, because we need to band together here and try to come up with as many ways as possible to fix the game, make it good, throw out ideas, and maybe, just maybe, Blizzard will hear some and listen. Obviously, being a small creator, this will probably go nowhere, but if you guys got to the end of the video and really care about this stuff, feel free to share it on Reddit or Twitter, or at least look at this guy's Reddit post, because it's already kind of blowing up with 7,000 upvotes. So actually, it was posted quite a while ago, but for some reason, it's blowing up now. And yeah, I just don't want to see the game die. I'm sure a lot of you guys don't either, so feel free to share. This video, since it's just personal talking, is just, it's not, I don't know how to explain it. This is just me personally talking to you guys, and that's basically what's gonna happen with the next couple of videos. Obviously, there's still gonna be gameplay videos, as you guys will see, but there will be videos like this where I just throw out ideas and personal beliefs. And if you guys don't like it, I'm sorry, but it's just things that I feel like they need to be said, and I'm just gonna say them. So hope you guys enjoyed. If you guys did enjoy, feel free to comment or share or like or do whatever you want. And if you didn't like, feel free to dislike. And if you do, please tell me why. If you disagree with a lot of my comments, I would be happy to start a conversation with you. So yeah, hope you all enjoyed. See you in the next video.